Hi, I'm Dylan Gowan, and welcome back to another installment of Overkill Reviews, BangerTV's weekly heavy metal review show. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and be sure to check out our Patreon campaign. Alright, so last time I was here, reviewed the new Dream Theater record, which was one of the most anticipated albums this year for progressive music. Now, I'm going to review another one within that same category. Ladies and gentlemen, notice how I say gentlemen. This is a new album by Periphery titled Hail Stan, which came out today on 3 Dot Recordings, which is their own label, if you didn't get it. But I'm sure you did, because you're smart. Ever since their debut album came out in 2010, these guys have exploded, becoming one of the most influential bands of the 2000s in terms of progressive music. When you have thousands upon thousands of YouTube cover videos of guitar players, drummers, and vocalists, worldwide tours with Meshuggah and Dream Theater and Devin Townsend, and then you get a Grammy nomination. These guys are very influential when it comes to bands who play in this style. They are a band that's made by world-class musicians for musicians. Oh yeah, and just a side note, gent is not a fucking genre. No matter how many times I have to say it, it's just this meme that got way out of hand. Basically, and okay, just another side note here. When people are all like, oh, Periphery's not prog, they basically play prog's version of metalcore. Are you kidding me? They are one of the most creative bands, even though, yeah, it's Meshuggah worship. It's a good band, who gives a shit? I'm ranting, fuck it, let's just get into the record. So the album opens up with a 16-minute marathon of a track titled Reptile. And I must admit, it's difficult to get someone's attention for that long of a track, but with Periphery, they somehow make it really, work really, really well. Especially on the intro, where it's got this kind of like orchestral elements, and then it has these kind of hills and valleys with dynamics, and there's big bombastic choirs and keyboard elements and orchestrations, and then it gets into this really calm section where it all just flows really well, and I was never bored with the track, which is something that's really hard to do, especially if it's a track that's just over 15 minutes long. It's a perfect way to kick off the record, and it's a track that I've always wanted to hear from Periphery. So the album continues with the track Blood Eagle, and this gives Gojira a run for their money in terms of heaviness, and you can fight me all you want in it. You can't help but just go, this is the kind of thing that really fits the title Blood Eagle. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Blood Eagle is, and this kind of solidifies like most metal moment in Periphery history. Blood Eagle is basically a form of Viking torture where they slice open the guy's back, rip open the rib cage, and then throw their lungs over for a nice added touch. Vikings. They're brutal, yet creative. So the aggression continues on the third track, Church Burner, which is easily Periphery's most metal title that they've ever came out with. It's just pure chaos from start to finish. It's almost as if you took Dillinger's Escape Plan and you told them to make a Periphery song. That's what it turned out to be. And Mark, one of the guitar players, described it as one of the heaviest songs and the most chaotic songs that they've ever written for an album, and to say that is purely an understatement. So when we get into the middle of the album, we get into a track called Garden of the Bones, which is pretty much a nice break in the chaos. You know, it just has this really soothing, a lot of groovy, a lot of melody thrown into this track, and emphasizes heavy rhythmic patterns, which is something that's really strong within Periphery songwriting. Its use of dynamics and tonality and melody, it just works really, really well. And it feels like every time I listen to it again and again and again, I keep finding something new. So the last track I want to talk about is, of course, the outro of the album titled Satellites. This might be the best track that highlights Spencer's vocal range, how it just goes from really soothing and hits all these really high notes, and the nice orchestral layering that they have really helps support his vocals really well within this track. So just like Garden of the Bones, which was a nice break from the chaos, Satellites is a great way to cap off the record. Okay, so despite me liking the album, there is a couple of little minor criticisms that I have. One being It's Only Smiles. I didn't like that track. I'm sorry to say that. I'm really sorry, but I just, no matter how many times I've listened to it, it just sounds like a mixture between a heavier version of Owl City and Reliant K, which I must admit, it's coming from my own personal opinion where I'm not a fan of pop punk, and you kind of have this kind of elements that are thrown into this track, and to me, it just sounds like a lighter, poppier version of Jetpacks Was Yes, and yeah, it just didn't do it for me. And the same thing happened with Sentient Glow and with Crush. Couldn't really get into it. I mean, I will admit, Crush did have a couple of interesting rhythmic patterns that happened with the track, but it just kind of sounds like, to me, it just sounds like if you're gonna do the kind of electronic style sounding drums, I know it's probably just a filter over it. I know Matt Halpern's actually playing it, but it just, to me, it feels like I want to hear the drums for real with it. And I think that would have just helped push the track a bit further in terms of me not having to listen to it over and over again to kind of really like it. All those tracks kind of happen after Garden of the Bones, and it feels like the track Satellite really saves the record. It just felt like those tracks, like Sentient Glow, It's Only Smiles, and Crush, it just felt like those three tracks in particular really took me out of the album. It's controversial to say because it shows the more kind of lighter side of Periphery, and believe me, don't get me wrong, I love that side of it, but when I find that I'm skipping over sections of those songs to get to the parts that I do like of those tracks, then it really kind of takes you out of the record. Periphery are still a major contributor to the ongoing progression, no pun intended, of progressive metal, inspiring a new generation of musicians to do their own covers of a lot of their songs. And despite my minor criticism and hiccups of Hailstand, it is still a solid release by the band. I mean, they're not losing fans over this. They might gain some fans from the kind of more lighter side of it, and of course that's the goal with it when you have a band trying to expand their sound and experiment more. Maybe that's what they were trying to do with this record. So Hailstand, still a solid release by the band. Can't wait to see them live, and that's why I'm giving the record 3.5 out of 5 skulls. So really quick, I want to give a shout out to LVT's new album that just came out, and if you're into folk metal and just the all these kind of different Celtic and pagan elements within metal, you're really going to enjoy it. It's a fantastic album. Now, for my second shout out, I'm going to do something a little different. It's hard to really cover all the albums that you want to review, so that's why for my second album I'm going to shout out is, of course, Devin Townsend's new album, Empath, and I'm just going to try and do a very mini review on it. And as much as I wanted to do a full-length review of it, here's what I think of the album. If you're into Devin Townsend, you will not be disappointed with it. It's basically an amalgamation and a highlight of everything that's great about this musical genius that we have. It's just like if you're a fan of like deconstruction, Addicted, it shows all those different elements of the of Devin Townsend. He includes some great guest drummers on it, like Anoop and Morgan, and of course Samuel from Decrepit Birth. And of course you have legendary Steve Vai on it. The only thing I can really say about it is, why haven't you listened to it yet? Go and listen to it now. But before you do listen to it, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out our Patreon campaign.